What if I told you that one of the most remote places on Earth has quietly become a key player in global politics? A land carved by glaciers, rooted in ancient traditions, shaped by colonial history, and, believe it or not, eyed by a US president as a potential real estate deal.
And I also have a message tonight for the incredible people of Greenland.
Welcome to Greenland, the island everyone suddenly wants. But we'll tell you that crazy proposal later. First, let's rewind and uncover the wild, untold story of Greenland. Thousands of years before modern nations even existed, Greenland was already home to resilient peoples. Around 2500 BC, the Sakak culture made its way here from what is now Canada. These early settlers were expert hunters and adapted to one of the harshest climates on the planet. Over time, other cultures like the Dorset followed, until around 1200 AD, the ancestors of today's Greenlandic Inuit arrived and shaped the island's indigenous identity. Around the same time, something unexpected happened. The Vikings landed. Greenland's Viking story starts with one man, a man who was, let's just say, not your average explorer. His name? Erik Thorvaldsson, known as Erik the Red. Now, Erik wasn't exactly a diplomat. He was born in Norway, but his family got kicked out after his father committed murder. They fled to Iceland looking for a fresh start, but unfortunately, history repeated itself. Erik, like his father, got into violent disputes and ended up killing people too. Iceland had enough. They exiled him too. So Erik sailed west, not knowing exactly what he'd find. What he landed on was an enormous, rugged, icy island. But for Erik, it wasn't just exile, it was opportunity. He spent 3 years exploring and surviving this strange new land. When his sentence was up, he returned to Iceland with a plan. To convince others to join him and settle this wild new territory, Erik gave it a name that would sell: Greenland. It probably was not as green as he claimed, but it was a genius branding move. And it worked. He convinced people to leave everything behind and sail into the unknown. Some historians believe the climate was slightly warmer back then, meaning parts of Greenland may have been greener. Others say Erik flat out lied, and yet others suggest that Greenland might actually be the result of a translation mix-up. Whether it was clever marketing or linguistic confusion, one thing's for sure: the name stuck. The Norse founded colonies on the southwest coast in the 10th century. These settlements, like Brattahlid, thrived for a few centuries. They farmed, raised livestock, and even built churches. But by the 1400s, they mysteriously disappeared. So the Viking settlements in Greenland didn't end with a bang, but with a slow, frozen fade. By the mid-1300s, the western settlement had already been abandoned. The last bishop packed up around 1378, and in 1408, a wedding at Valsey Church was the final written trace of the Norse in Greenland. But what happened? It wasn't one single thing. The climate cooled dramatically, what we now call the Little Ice Age, and farming became nearly impossible. Trade with Europe dried up, especially after the demand for walrus ivory collapsed. And while the Inuit adapted to the cold, the Norse didn't. They stuck to their old ways, even when they stopped working. Some may have sailed back to Iceland, others likely starved, froze, or faded into the icy wilderness. The land swallowed their settlements whole, until only ruins were left. And just like that, the Vikings of Greenland disappeared from history. For a few centuries, Greenland was mostly forgotten by Europe. The Norse were gone, the Inuit lived on, but no one came back. Until a Danish missionary named Hans Egede set sail in 1721. Egede had one goal: find the lost Norse Christians and bring them back into the church. But when he arrived, there were no Norse left, only Inuit communities thriving in the Arctic. So Egede changed course. He started preaching to the Inuit instead. From there, Denmark slowly expanded its presence. Trade posts popped up and other settlements followed. They brought control, Christianity, and economic systems with them. By the time the Treaty of Kiel was signed in 1814, Greenland was officially declared a Danish colony. But what does daily life look like on a giant island covered in ice? Well, in Greenland, it's anything but cold when it comes to culture. Around 90% of the people here are Inuit or of mixed Inuit-Danish background. And their traditions? They're as strong and deep as the ice they live on. The main language is Kala-Alisut, and if you ever hear it spoken, it feels like the Arctic itself is talking to you. Greenlandic culture is built on resilience. For centuries, survival meant knowing how to hunt, fish, and work with nature. You see that in their art too. Ever heard of a tupilak? It's this intricate little carved figure originally used in shaman rituals to summon spirits. You'll find them made from bone, wood, and even whale ivory. And no, you won't find McDonald's here. The food is local, sustainable, and tied to centuries of tradition. They also know how to celebrate. National Day is huge. June 21st, the longest day of the year. Think flags, traditional outfits, music, and a whole lot of dancing. And while Christmas and Easter are big too, they come with a Greenlandic twist. Inuit carols, communal feasts, and families celebrating in candle-lit homes surrounded by snow. And Greenland isn't just frozen, it's ancient, rugged. Beneath that massive ice sheet lies a land full of mountains, deep fjords, and valleys carved out by glaciers over thousands of years. And that ice? It's so heavy, it actually pushes the land down. Parts of Greenland are literally below sea level because of it. And while the island itself is massive, almost no one lives here. Greenland has one of the lowest population densities in the world. Just around 56,000 people, mostly living along the ice-free coast. You could walk for days and not see a soul. It's that empty. And here's something that surprises most people. Greenland has a volcanic past. There are no active volcanoes now, but the rocks tell the story. In East Greenland, the Geopolitics Plateau is covered in solidified lava flows, remnants of huge volcanic eruptions from millions of years ago. Scientists think Greenland once drifted over a hotspot, maybe the same one that fuels Iceland's volcanoes today. And while the fire may have cooled, there's a new force reshaping the island. Melting ice. Greenland is losing over 200 billion tons of ice every year. That's not just local, it's global. This meltwater is raising sea levels, changing ocean currents, and if it continues, could mess with the entire planet's climate. So Greenland may look quiet, but under the surface, it's anything but. In addition, this island is sitting on serious economic potential. Right now, the backbone of Greenland's economy is fishing. Shrimp and halibut are the big ones, and they're shipped off to places like Denmark, the US, China, and Japan. But the real deal? That is hidden beneath the ice. We're talking rare earth minerals used in everything from smartphones to electric cars. Greenland has uranium, iron ore, zinc, and even gold. And as the climate warms and ice melts, more of that buried treasure becomes reachable. Mining companies from China, Australia, and Canada are already sniffing around. There's even oil and gas potential off the coast. So is Greenland rich? Not exactly. The economy is still small. It relies heavily on subsidies from Denmark and infrastructure is limited. But when you're sitting on that much untapped wealth, guess what happens? The world starts paying attention. Which brings us finally to one of the weirdest moments in recent geopolitical history.
We need it really for international world security, and I think we're going to get it. One way or the other, we're going to get it.
The reaction? A full-blown diplomatic storm. Denmark called the proposal absurd, and Greenland's own government clapped back instantly, "We're open for business, not for sale." But as wild as that story sounded, it actually pointed to something very real. Greenland's location is incredibly strategic. It's located between North America and Europe. It borders the Arctic, a region that's becoming the next big global power battleground. The US, Russia and China, they all want in. And as the ice melts, the shipping lanes open, the military value grows, and the game changes fast. So Trump didn't get to buy Greenland, but he did put the world on notice. This icy island matters. Today, Greenland enjoys broad autonomy. Since 2009, it has had self-rule over most domestic affairs. Denmark still handles foreign policy and defense, but Greenland's voice is growing louder. There's even talk of full independence, something the people may choose in the coming decades. But independence isn't simple. The economy remains fragile. Infrastructure is limited. Climate change threatens traditional ways of life and opens doors to new industries at the same time. Greenland sits at a crossroads. Ancient culture and modern ambition. Icebound wilderness and untapped opportunity. It's not just an island of ice, it's a land of resilience. A people who've adapted for millennia. A pawn, and now perhaps a player, in global politics. And maybe most importantly, a reminder that the most remote places can sometimes be the most important.
So what do you think? Should Greenland become fully independent? Or is it stronger with Denmark behind it? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, give us a like or subscribe for more stories about countries, history and geography.